Welcome to the update for September 25th. This part of the update is going to be a quick mini lecture on strength and endurance and functional fitness. I'll do a separate video on some things you can consider to improve your grades and improve your success on the Module 3 check-in. Remember that for this module you have to have access to weight machines. And so you'll need to either have a gym membership, go with a friend that has a gym membership, or ask for a short-term trial membership at the gym of your choice if you can't make it to campus to use the ones at the Student Recreation Center. So let's look at the two parts of muscular strength and muscular endurance. Muscular endurance is about your muscles' ability to continuously do work. So one of the ways that they can do work is to contract and hold a contraction. If you think about holding a plank or a bent arm hang, those are two examples of muscular endurance. The other kind of muscular endurance is your body's muscles' ability to contract repeatedly. So that would be like walking or rowing or cycling. Things where you're doing the same movement over and over and over again and the muscles are continuously having to contract and release. When you do endurance activities, you're using the oxygen system, and that's the system that requires oxygen in order for you to make ATP, and that's also the one that is the least efficient at making ATP. It's the most efficient at making ATP, and you can continue to make it throughout the time that you're physically active. You're able to supply your body with enough oxygen to continually make that ATP. So you don't get tired easily and you're able to go on for a long period of time. So any aerobic activity is going to use that oxygen system, and any aerobic activity is also an endurance activity. That's another way you can check to see if your activity is aerobic or not, is whether or not you can do it for a long period of time. Muscular strength, on the other hand, is about being able to lift a heavy object one or more times. The assessment that we do is going to use your recommended body weight, and it's going to have you do a submaximal test. So it's not going to ask you to try picking up the heaviest amount of weight that we think you can lift. We're going to scale that back a little bit and then ask you to lift it multiple times. And the number of times you're able to lift it, up to 20, determines how fit you are in the area of muscular strength. So muscular strength will be things like picking up a big box and moving it, picking up a heavy child, picking up your dog. Any of those things would have to do with muscular strength. So, and also like a one-time activity like a high jump would take muscular strength. So the strength activities are always anaerobic. You're going to essentially use up all the oxygen in your muscles, and then after you stop, you're going to take in more oxygen and replenish the oxygen supply to the muscles. So when you are doing strength activities, you get to the point of fatigue. You get to where you can't do it anymore. And you'll hear sometimes weightlifters talking about lifting to failure. And that's when there's not enough oxygen left for your muscles to contract another time, and you're not able to make any more ATP to fuel them either. So a lot of times people think that they're doing aerobic work if they're doing endurance lifting, but lifting is always going to eventually run your muscles out of oxygen, and so it's always going to be an anaerobic activity, even though it can be used to help you do better at aerobic activities. Functional fitness is the one that confuses a lot of students. So functional fitness is your ability to do everyday things. Wash your car, walk to the store, climb the stairs to your classroom, all those things, functional fitness. So there really aren't any activities or exercises that you do that are classified as functional fitness exercises. A lot of times students think, well, I'll just do those things in the assessment. Those will be my functional fitness exercises. But that is really only an assessment. So anything that you do that involves physical activity or exercise is going to help your functional fitness. You build better functional fitness through aerobic activities, anaerobic activities such as basketball, tennis. You build it by lifting weights, by stretching, all of those things. The other thing that I want to mention, now that I've kind of talked about stretching, there's a lot of mythology about stretching out there. And when I was younger, in my early teaching career, the general understanding was that if you stretched a lot before you did activities, your joints would be more flexible and you would be less likely to injure yourself. And we now know that the exact opposite is true. So actually what happens is that if you loosen up those joints too much, they're kind of flopping around and they're more likely to get injured. So any flexibility work that you're going to do beyond just loosening up, so you know, you might do some little gentle lunges or whatever to make sure that you have your maximum range of motion. We call that elastic flexibility. But any work that you're going to do for plastic elongation, which means permanent changes or long-term changes to the range of motion in your joints, those need to be done at the end of your activity when you're very warmed up and before you're going to do anything else. After a while, a little bit of that flexibility tightens back up, and then you have some protection for the joints when you're physically active. You'll also find a lot of times that there's an emphasis placed on slow, sustained stretching, and that's very true. You should do mostly slow, sustained stretching if you're just doing it for health benefits. But if you're wanting to stretch for a particular activity, you need to look at the demands of that activity and see whether other kinds of stretching, more dynamic stretching, might be of benefit as well. It doesn't mean you leave out the slow, sustained stretching, but it means that you're going to go ahead and add this other kind of activity as well. If you have any questions, one other thing I wanted to say, when you're looking through your chapter, there's a really great chart that shows sort of sample ranges of how many repetitions, how many sets, how much rest, what the intensity would be for different kinds of weightlifting. So if you're trying to get health-related benefits, you're going to do 8 to 12 repetitions, you're going to do a moderate level intensity, you're going to rest a minute or so in between your different between sets, and then you'll repeat it again. So this course is really designed around helping you to get more health-related benefits in general. And when it comes to muscular strength and endurance, we're also talking about health-related benefits. So that's that area that's circled in the dotted line in the middle of that, that chart. The other areas are for people that might be interested in doing other kinds of weightlifting. So health-related weightlifting is when you're going to build a little bit more muscle, you're going to get a little bit stronger, but you're not going to build tons of muscle and you're not going to get really, really strong. Another point to remember for women is that while women build muscle and get stronger, they don't build the really big muscles that we see sometimes in men, and that's because those muscles require some testosterone, and we don't have enough testosterone to cause fast, rapid, large muscle building. The last thing I want to mention is that if you're wanting to build some muscle, remember that you can't really build muscle and lose weight at the same time. Losing weight requires that you intake fewer calories than you're going to burn. Building muscle requires that you eat more calories than you're burning, so you have some left to make the muscle out of. So it's really important that you not try to do the two at the same time. You decide what you're going to do first. Usually we talk about getting lean first and then building muscle mass, but you can do it in the other way, but sometimes you lose some muscle while you're doing the weight loss. And so for most people, they find that losing fat first, building muscle second is the way to go. And as I said, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Please remember that this is my last video that I'm going to be making from my office for a while. I'll be on a plane next Monday headed for Europe, and I will be in and out of Wi-Fi access for at least until next Friday. After that, I should have more consistent access for a while, and I'll always let you know the days that I'm going to be gone. If you are at all hesitant about this module, I recommend that you work on it this week so that any questions you have, you can get to me in time that I can answer them for you before I leave, and you won't be trying to rush at the end when I can finally get to email again. I'll look for your notes.